Okay, I'm Adrian Villarreal, and this is part 2 for the campus network design and implementation. So previously in part 1, my teammate went ahead and went through the overview for this Albion campus network. And in this part, we're going to go over the configurations we used and test the actual network and the communications between the devices in this. So the things that need to be configured in this layout would have to be the layer 2 switches connecting to the layer 3 switches, and then from there connecting to the router, and all these configurations need to be set. So that's what we ended up doing, beginning with the layer 2 switches in each and every department. So we began with the layer 2 switches on each of these, and we set the VLAN environment for each and every one of them. So these commands were ran. This one, we created VLAN 10, VLAN 20, and then so on and so forth for each of these layer 2 switches in the departments. After the VLAN environments were set up, for each of these ports coming from the layer 3 switch, which in this case would be the main campus layer 3 switch, we had to configure it to connect directly to each layer 2 switch. So we had to explicitly state which port was being selected to which VLAN, and as you can see here from these commands, this is how we set that up. So we did this for every single port, and then here on this layer 3 switch on the branch, we did the exact same thing, setting up the access to the VLANs on that switch. So after all the VLANs are configured with the L3 switch, typically only one VLAN is able to be transmitted at a time, unless we switch these two trunk ports on each L3 switch. So we went ahead and did that by running this command, switch port mode trunk. I was having issues running the command shown on the video, but this ended up just working fine for me and fixing the problem. So we ran this command on both L3 switches, which is this one at the branch, and then this one on the main campus.
Okay, so now that we have our VLANs able to be transmitted through every port on the L3 switches, it was time to set up our IP addresses. So we did that for each and every device. So we went ahead and set up the first environment for the cloud. We went ahead and ran our commands here. I don't have access to them because I refreshed the page. But just know that the IP address is already configured for this cloud device. If you can see here, the IP address through the gigabit Ethernet 00 is set to 20.0.0.1. And that is the allocated IP address for this. And we have the allocated IP address for this server, which is 20.0.0.2. We can test this out and make sure this was manually inputted, but we can test this out and make sure by just pinging the server from this device. If we go here to the command prompt and we ping 20.0.0.1, we see we are getting replies from the server, so that means that is successfully configured. So once we do that, this network and things within the network are able to interact with each other, but we still haven't connected it to the router. That's something we're going to do in a bit. But we went ahead and did that for all the other devices here. So for all these within the building on the main campus, we went ahead and set those up, gave them their each respective IP addresses. As you can tell here, the IP address for like this device would be 192.168.1.1. And then for each and every one PC on this one, the gateway would be 192.168.2.1, and so on and so forth, going down to PC7 having the default gateway being 192.168.8.2. So after all these individually have their IP set, they are able to communicate with each other, but they are not able to communicate across the network since we did not have the IP router configurations on the main campus router. So we went ahead and did that. And all the commands are detailed in the lab report we're going to submit. For some reason, they were showing up here, but when I refreshed the application, none of the commands that I ran show up. So we can go ahead and test to see whether these devices communicate with each other. So we're going to go here, and we're just going to test to see if this PC0 on this network on building A can communicate with PC9. So the IP address for PC9 would be 192.168.9.2. This is on VLAN 9, and we can see here it's successfully pinging, or okay, not yet, but okay, so it's successfully pinged. We went ahead and transmitted 3 packages. So there is a connection across the network as stated through this router. We can see here if we hover over that each and every gigabit Ethernet shows its IP address, so it has a correct router. But we can go ahead and test to see if the devices here on the branch campus router can communicate to the cloud by doing ping 20.0.0.2. So we can see we're immediately getting responses. So that is showing that the whole network is communicating with each other. For a more detailed explanation, we will submit a lab report with all the screenshots of the commands that were ran. Thank you.